Okay, welcome. Another episode of Mordred's Community Multiplayer. Anbennar MP. Lot happened in this session. Quite a few conflicts. Um, some expected, some unexpected. We'll start over in the New World. I believe we have 4 players now and a few colonial nations. So we've got Boyascarvo, which is the old Malaknar. Oh, actually, we'll start here. Great powers of the world. The Greeks, Boyascarvo, Bahin, Riveria, Catarata, Vern, Phoenix Empire, Raoul. Interesting. You have 3 out of Bulwar here, which is pretty surprising. Only 1 out of Halis. Um, that might come to change soon. And then a few in the Canor area. Um, yeah. Boyascarvo, still no real allies, so they're quite the wild card. Manpower, let's use Vern as an example. I know Vern was quite a powerful entity this past session. Okay, so 190 seems to be the high benchmark. We'll see as we go around. They're at 120. They went quality, expansion, trade. We'll see if they swap expansion out for something else, like something with some good policy with their existing ideas. Quality to get morale and siege ability might be an option. Magic seems really popular. What would quality give them? Prestige and estate loyalty. That's actually pretty interesting, the estate loyalty. Maybe economic. Discipline 5%, yeah. So I might swap it for economic. That does limit you from production, which would carry manpower and land force. Okay, interesting thoughts. Or options there for our Boyascarvo player. Tremendous amount of money. Very large force limit. Not really doing much with it, though. Vanderberry Guild. I believe this is a player now. A reseed. Manpower, relatively limited. Economy, relatively small. Bit of a mission tree here, working their way through it. A little bit behind on ideas. Some pretty cool national ideas. Shock damage, arty combat, goods produced, mill tech, dev cost. Yeah, pretty good ideas. But yeah, still a minor player in this region, I would say. We've got the Greeks allied with Rezinkand. I believe this is an extremely powerful alliance block, as we'll see as we step through these ideas. Okay. Income, wow, tremendous. Boyascarvo was, yeah, at 150. We're at 250 here in the Greeks. And they've still got a few vassals. Yeah. So deserving of that first great power spot. Manpower is relatively low. Oh, wow. This is a terrible dev ratio. You want to be burning as much tax as possible and pumping it into manpower. Um, yeah, that's a pretty bad ratio as well. But yeah, you'll want to start, like, where's all your dev? Scattered. So like a province like this, you want to start burning tax down and then pumping manpower up. Um, yeah, burn tax down, pump manpower. Burn tax, pump manpower, etc., etc. Um, Ideally, you have more manpower. Manpower should be your largest. Ideas, exploration, naval, administrative. So the issue here is in Anbennar, there's so many tags with pretty, we'll say, excessive military modifiers. If you don't go more military focused, it's going to be hard to compete. So they're limited on manpower. They have a fantastic economy and a huge force limit, but they're not really going to be able to compete on land. Um, they're allied with Rezinkand, tremendous manpower pool, still behind on ideas, still behind on tech. Their eco's pretty strong. So in order for these two to be able to project any power, you need to have excessive amounts of force limit and manpower over your enemies, like a Vern, for example, um, because of some of their modifiers. Where's the, like, right here, shock damage 20, shock damage received minus 20. And it looks like they went Coronite, so they get an age bonus here potentially, um, where they get an additional 30% shock damage, so it's tremendous. So yeah, start burning your dev as much as possible. It's easy, just do through here, just burn this and pump your manpower so that you can compete if you do choose to go to the old world or the new old world or whatever you want to call it. Rezinkand, we touched on. Decent income, behind on ideas and tech, good amount of manpower, decent force limit. Yeah. And then we have a few colonial players. I'm actually surprised to see Rolisard. Pretty strong play by them, diplomatically, militarily, whatever, to maintain their colonial holdings against a New World entity like a Rezinkand, as well as Riveria and Duran. Two strong players in their own right. So good job, Rolisard, managing that. I believe it's... Oh, they even do they have a second colonial nation here? Yeah, good for them. And then working on a third. We'll touch on Duran now. Eco relatively weak. Manpower's okay. Force limit's okay. Maybe a tiny bit behind on ideas. And basically up to date on tech. They're in a tough spot. Their colonial empire is not particularly large at this point. The New Worlders and Vanderbilt Guild and Rezinkand have scooped up a lot of the colonial footprint. And I believe they lost 1 or 2 wars to Rolisard. So they lost a decent amount of their cores here and here. So I think Duran's in trouble unless something somehow breaks up the Imperial Hug Box. Yeah, otherwise I don't see many expansion opportunities for them. Going north, we've got Riveria, basically a version of Bjarnrik at this point, a combination of Bjarnrik and the gnomes, if you will. This is a player vassal, so we'll touch on them next. Eco is okay. Up to date on ideas and up to date on tech. So they are doing well. Manpower is fine, and force limit's fine. But they're in a similar issue. They've run out of expansion options for the most part. I saw some sort of diplomatic agreement between them, Small Country, and Arbrand, where they've come to an agreed upon border. Whether this means Small Country and Arbrand potentially might be willing to shake things up from an imperial politics perspective, that remains to be seen. From what I've seen via chat, they're comfortable with maintaining the hug box. So I think our western block here, Riveria and Duran, are going to be on the decline as far as the future state of the game goes. I could see if Riveria allied with the Greeks and Duran allied with Boyascarvo and everyone committed, they might be able to break the Imperial Hug Box, but that's quite a stretch. We'll see what their vassal looks like. Behind. Yeah, rough shape. Small Country. Look at that income. Tremendous amount through trade. The fact that Vertesk also, by the way, guys, is still independently AI controlled, kind of wild. Um, Giving the AI a center of trade in the most powerful trade node in the game is interesting. Our brand, I would have thought, would be all over this, because you could be making so much more. But yeah, as of now, small countries just rolling in it. Outrageous amounts of ducat, manpower, but they're mercenary focused for the most part. Ideas, innovative, trade, and strategic. What policies is that give us? Trade efficiency, innovativeness gain, siege ability. What is... Oh yeah, they're almost at 100. So yeah, they're doing quite well. Are they still halfling military? Yeah. If we see them switch from a halfling military, they could tap into some of this manpower. Otherwise, because of the 10% discipline mollusk, it's a heavy merc focused. We'll go over to our brand now. Tons of money. Manpower's fine. Oh, they've got a vampire estate. That's kind of annoying to deal with. A little bit behind on ideas, but not bad. Basically up to date on tech. Force limit is big. Yeah, so we see here small country with their income and force limit, and then our brand in a similar position. These two could easily crush Riveria and Durain if they chose to. Maybe small country moves into Durain. Um, that's an expansion option. Our brand seems to be getting cut off from Eskin by blade marches, so who knows which way they choose to expand. Um, but yeah, very strong alliance block here between these two. Continuing in the Empire, we've got Silverforge. Decent amount of manpower. Decent force limit. Good income. Yeah, they're just chugging along. They start as one of the smaller players, but they're moving up fast. Want to check something. Yeah, this siege ability is just broken. Like, what a joke. It's from ideas. Yeah, part of it's from ideas. And then part of it's also, yeah, pairing that with the idea mod. So we get 10 from Dwarven, 20 from offensive. What's the general Corps of Engineers? Yeah, this must be a mission tree thing. It's pretty broken. To be honest, I don't know if there's a way to balance this. Allied with Rosalard can siege down things almost instantly, so it can make offensive wars much, much easier. You don't really have to worry about fighting on forts because of how quickly they can siege it. I believe their siege cycle is like 5 days right now. Demaria. Still a tremendous amount of manpower. Force limit's pretty good. Income's really good. Up to date on ideas and up to date on tech. There's still a little bit of expansion here, killing some of these, but that just lowers their manpower potential. So who knows what the plan is there. Otherwise, Demaria's kind of out. So they might look to play tall. Yeah, they could burn tax and pump manpower. Their dev ratio is actually pretty good. Tornin, allied with Demaria. They are also out of expansion options. Ooh, no manpower, no eco. They're in a tough spot here. Yeah, not really sure what they can do. Vern expanded a little bit into Eberthil in a war against Catarata. I believe Raoul and the Emerald Orcs may have been involved. Tremendous manpower pool. Decent, yeah, good force limit. Strong eco. Up to date on ideas and up to date on tech. Their expansion options are also a little bit limited. They could continue to enforce some of these claims on Ket. Still might be hard from like a boundaries perspective. From a naval perspective, Ket could, if Ket focuses, could sink their navy. I could see them maybe hopping around Roselard, working out something diplomatically to carve up Derain. That's an option. Or maybe they and the Blade Marches continue moving into this area and Vern gets some of this. Who knows? Roselard. A little bit behind on tech and ideas, nothing major. Good eco. Decent force limit. Manpower's fine. And then Blade Marches are finally our final Imperial. The old Kavoria. Ooh, terrible eco. Considering their size. Ooh, terrible manpower pool. What is going on? What's your economy? Oh, a lot of devastation. Huh. Yeah, Blade Marches looks much more intimidating than they are for having 900 dev. Yeah, they're behind on ideas and up to date on tech. So Blade March is maybe a little bit of a paper tiger, but the tag is pretty strong. I believe it gives some nice modifiers. Yeah, even that's not too overbearing. Obviously, the shock damage from the age is pretty powerful. Let's take a look at religion. What is this religion? Yeah, it's still the Fey religion. There's Coronite, still Regent Court over here, but almost everyone in the Empire has gone Coronite for that shock bonus. Ket, new Sun Cult. Yeah. So yeah, Blade March is a little bit of a paper tiger. Emerald Orcs, good manpower pool, good, okay force limit, terrible eco. Catching up on ideas and tech. Yeah, so they're doing pretty well. I believe Hammerhome is a vassal of theirs, maybe a player vassal even. But not much to talk about with them. So Emerald Orcs can continue to expand here. Blade Marches can continue here. There's going to be some friction. Just the nature of the claims. They can also continue to expand into the Serpent Spine, but it's not necessarily worth it because they don't dig. I would probably give this to make a vassal of Old Bloodhome and then feed them all the Serpent Spine stuff, something like that. Create like a vassal swarm. Oh, you're over force or over relations. Yeah, I'm not sure. Shattered Crown. Oh, it's a disaster. Oh, they're in the Horde Curse. They're memeing through it by taking the max loans probably right before the curse fired to move through it quickly. So they'll be fine coming out of this. Manpower's decent. Force limit's fine. I'm just not sure what sort of impact they're going to have and how soon they can have it. They do get some really nice cav stacking buffs, but it's already 1550 and they haven't made a tremendous impact on Diplo yet, so we'll see. Ogres, I believe this is a human player. Decent manpower pool, decent force limit. Way behind. A little bit behind. Taking down the Centaurs right now, moving into the Lake Fed. They'll be extremely powerful once they've consolidated, but they're in a similar position to the Ram Dwarves. Diplomatically, I'm not sure what sort of impact they're going to have. this stuff being uncolonized makes it even more difficult for them to get a border into Bulwar and influence things that way. Obviously, oh, yeah, this part of the Serpent Spine's uncolonized, so yeah, either they work with or fight against the Ram Dwarves. I think that's their only real options. Raoul, a lot of money. We got really good income. Great force limit. Good manpower pool. Up to date. The issue Raoul's going to have, they can't form their formable without a huge number of provinces from the Phoenix Empire. Yeah, they need 30 more. Without their formable, they don't get the broken dev cost modifiers. They only get the basic one. Over here. Oh. They need this province. Yeah. They're in trouble. I don't know if they'll be able to fire that mission. So they're kind of stagnating, and they're in a similar spot to the Greeks, where they're a really powerful nation from a vanilla perspective, but they don't have any tremendous army modifiers. So they rely on just overwhelming advantage of numbers, which they don't have, and without the 30% dev cost reduction, not sure they're going to get there. Phoenix Empire, I would say, is in a similar state. They might have a few more modifiers. Not really. Yeah, they have Elven military, which is nice, but the downsides are actually significant. Manpower is good. Force limit's good. Eco's good. But you would think with all of Bulwar, or the richest parts of Bulwar, they'd be further ahead. They're just not. If I were them, I'd probably look to conquer these dwarves and then turn them into a vassal or something and expand that way. They've got the Rahenis right up on their tail. I don't know, they seem to be on peaceful terms, so there's a lot of stagnation potentially in this region. I believe they tried to move into blade marches but couldn't take them down. Who knows? Catarata is going to be another one of these nations. Yeah, good eco, good manpower, good force limit, but no real modifiers. So you can't fight Vern and the blade marches on even numbers. They need significant numbers advantages, which they just don't have. So I see a lot of stagnation in this region. Rahen got these guys. Don't they have formable? Unite the tribes. They just don't want to do it yet. Yeah, they basically completed their mission tree. We'll see what they choose to do. Maybe they're going for a different one of the formables. I don't know. Up to date. Pretty much up to date. Decent manpower. Yeah, decent eco. Good force limit. Looks like Odval Khanzad took a giant leap forward moving into the command. That's going to be a big power spike for them. And they're racing as slow as they can towards the gold hold, which would be nice. So good session on Odval Khanzad, but still relatively small. Yeah, they need a couple more sessions like that to be able to exert influence outside the Serpent Spine. Elephant Lords. Oh, allied with Fetten. Interesting. I believe there was some sort of war between 1Z and Baho's Jin or whatever versus these guys. As you can see, a few cores were lost. Yeah. So looks like 1Z. This power block is the premier one in Halys right now. I believe Bim Lao may have been AI a couple times, so we'll skip them. Van Rahar. Good manpower. Decent enough eco. Great force limit. Behind on ideas and tech significantly. But this tag is just crazy. See, this is what you get in Anbennar. Morale of armies 20%, shock damage 20%, infantry combat 15, mill skill, infantry cost, national manpower, and then fire damage received. And then their mission tree gives additional discipline, additional morale. This gives additional stat points. This one gives mill tech, leadership, or leader recruit. So really powerful modifiers in some of these mission trees. You can see here that 30% infantry combat is pretty good. You look at like a Malaknar, they can be like 80% infantry combat, stuff like that. Modifiers start being crazy. 1Z, yeah, they're at 40% infantry combat. Not a ton of manpower. Yeah, their manpower is really... Manpower should be your largest of the three. Typically in multiplayer, you always want to be focused on mill. So, we'll see how that goes long term. Force limit's not that large. Thought they'd be a little bit stronger. How's their eco? It's fine. Okay. So yeah, the Elephant Lord's pretty powerful ally here for Mordred. 45% cavalry combat ability. I believe they have a bonus. Yeah, they have a slight bonus to cav shock. So where we have 2 here, they've got 2.15, 2. Yeah. So really strong military here. Huge force limit, and it's going to be heavy. Oh, it's not that heavy cav. But yeah, so pretty powerful ally. They may be able to take 1Z back down. Oh, huge manpower pool here. Huge force limit. So yeah, this is definitely the kingmaker in the region still. I don't know if they have any special... nothing jumps off the page at me. Really strong eco. Up to date, up to date. And still a little bit more consolidation or annexation options open to them. Oh, they have them as a march. Yeah. Fetton, manpower's relatively low. Eco's really strong for their size. Force limit's really low. And I don't think, yeah, they don't have any crazy Anbennar modifiers. So it's going to be tough. Kobolds. Yeah, no crazy Anbennar modifiers. Way behind on ideas. Behind on tech. What's their eco like? Yeah, not super strong. So, yeah, I think 1Z, this is their region to lose, if you will, this alliance block. We'll see if anything happens. I think if Rahen as a whole joined the Kobolds and Fetton, they might be able to take this block down, but otherwise it's really strong. So, power to them. And yeah, this has been going on for quite a while, so high level, expect the Imperial Hug Box as long as they continue to manage any internal tension to enforce their will as they choose. They're basically invulnerable to offensive wars against them because of the way the being able to call the Emperor and all the Emperor's allies into any defensive war. So unless you attacked like Torinin, so that you only had to fight Demaria and Arboran. But like if you attack the Blade Marches, you have to fight the Blade Marches Vern, and then Demaria, Arboran, Torinin. Fight Roselard, it's a similar situation. fight small country. It's a similar situation. So there's no like easy way to crack the nut, if you will. Um, in vanilla, it's a little bit different because Austria's on the outskirts of the empire, so you can find ways to attack the emperor directly to avoid having all those extra people drawn in. Um, we'll see what happens if players are able to dip low or find a way to crack the nut, but expect them to continue to exert their will. Stagnation. Still some interesting dynamics to come out of this region. So I think Halys is probably going to be the most fun moving forward.